Hello and welcome to Frozen Synapse 2 Dev Diary number 16. I'm Ian Hardingham, designer and lead programmer on Frozen Synapse 2, and today we're going to have a bit of a grab bag of stuff looking at multiplayer features in Frozen Synapse 2 and answering your questions in the mailbag. So let's go. So I'll start off by saying that I know you guys are used to this being super early footage, but that goes triple for the menus, which mostly are still running the old Frozen end zone layouts. Even some pictures of a robot or two I think you're going to see now. So don't panic, those will be changed and upgraded and made to look nicer, but the features are all pretty much in. So I'm going to show you anyway. I'm afraid I missed my dev diary last week, lots of things were going on. But I'm still aiming to do this every single week, even next week between Christmas and New Year, so please keep watching and keep the feedback coming in. So let's log in, and here are the aforementioned Frozen Cortex graphics. We'll just ignore those. So on my last video, when I announced that the city game would have full multiplayer, some of you guys showed concern about the existence of the standard Frozen Synapse 1 multiplayer. That's all in. For goodness sake, that's a massive aspect of Frozen Synapse, probably the most important aspect, and all of the features from Frozen Synapse 1 are already in Frozen Synapse 2, plus a load more. So I thought I'd remind you guys about those. Down here in the bottom left, we have one of the core features of Frozen Synapse multiplayer, which is the traffic lights. One of the big things I wanted in this game was it to be as easy to get a game as it is in something like Counter-Strike, the original, where you just join a server full of people. You can see who are people. You can just start playing or stop playing at any time. Obviously, it's never going to be that easy with something that's a direct one-on-one game. But by going to green on the traffic lights, the system finds you a match as quickly as possible. That was always something very important to me, and I think we kind of pulled it off pretty easily. You have the modes box, which lets you select the modes that you want to play at this time. And we've even included some options to require timed turns. We're going to test that during the closed beta to see how that works out. A lot of people get very annoyed at people not doing their turns fast enough. It's one of our biggest complaints. So that's a feature that's in there. All of the old game modes are in there, along with a couple of putative new game modes that are still to be largely developed. As I've talked about a lot, they're called end plays here, but the one turns, the exciting one-turn matches that I've gone to in great depth into in previous dev videos, so track those down if you don't know what I'm talking about there. If we stop looking at this menu for a minute, which is not the most exciting screen in the world, and we go into the advanced create game menu. Yes, and here we go. So as in FS1, you can create any kind of mission. You can add units. Oh my goodness, well that looks good, doesn't it? That's better. We still have only relatively straightforward map generation in multiplayer. Those of you who have been keeping watch of these dev videos will be aware of how much different the maps are in single player in the city game. That will be informing this stuff, believe me, but just kind of showing you guys all of the stuff that is still in from the last game, and the rendering, all this stuff is temporary as well. And you will be able to import stuff from PNG as in FS1. That's not actually in yet. But one of the things I can show you here, a new feature I put in last week, is the chess clock. This is a very requested feature. Not only do we give you turn time limits as an option, we give you a chess clock, a total time for you to take in the match. So obviously, you might commit your first turn relatively slowly, do your second turn really quickly, and just like a chess clock, basically, you both have the same amount of time to complete the game, but you might distribute it, you and opponent distribute it differently amongst the turns. We'll have to see how that one works out. I actually implemented that as an important feature of Multiplayer City, which I'm going to talk about more in a minute. But yes, people have asked for that, and they'll be able to have it. So, broadly speaking, just the first part of this video is reminding you guys that all of the great Frozen Synapse 1 multiplayer stuff already exists. There are more units and new map types and new game types in Frozen Synapse 2, and the one turns, which I'm especially excited about, but that's still all in there. So, I'm going to move on now to the city stuff. Now, the last 2.5 weeks, I've been hard at work continuing to make the multiplayer city game work properly, and playing with Robin and iterating with with Robin to improve the experience both of multiplayer city and of single player city. So as I talked about on the video last time, one of the biggest concerns with this game is how long it takes for other people to do missions that you're not involved in. It's kind of weird for me to just harp on about the biggest problem with this game in multiplayer, and because I think it's a really awesome game in multiplayer, and it's been really exciting to play. But that's the thing that I know I have to get right if it's going to be as popular as I know it can be. So basically, you're going to be able to spectate, you are able to spectate any missions that don't involve you. And there's a fairly aggressive time limit by default set on these other missions. If I load up the new city options screen, which currently only has 2 options, here we have the chess clock time limit for human versus AI missions, and human versus human missions. Now, I'm currently technically in a single player city, which is why these are defaulted to none. As soon as I make the game multiplayer, wow, that worked, and we go back up, we'll see that we have new defaults. We still have a default of no game time limit on human versus human missions, but human versus AI missions are defaulted to 300 seconds, 5 minutes. So if you are playing 2-player and your friend gets into an interesting mission against the AI, you know that you only have to wait 5 minutes, basically, and it'll be over. Not only that, you can watch it. There have been some interesting ideas on the comments of my videos that I'm definitely paying attention to. There might be some fun little gamey ways that you can get involved in those missions, just to add some really cool features. That's the kind of thing people really like, and obviously it makes complete sense within a surveillance, tactics, security game like this. So I just thought I'd update you with one of the things. I implemented all of that in a day a couple of weeks ago, but I just wanted to show it to you because it's pretty important. All of the other stuff Robin and myself have been working on have been much more low level. Functionality, game flow, getting interesting events happening at the right times, that kind of thing. So that's that. Just trying to see if there's anything else new I can show you guys before we head on to the mailbag. I'm not sure there is. I've been doing some exciting work on the transitions between the city and the mission, which might be in a position I can show you. Let me just have a look. Okay, that's not actually quite ready to show, so we won't show that. That'll be something exciting to see next time. So let's get on to the mailbag. Tigris has a very good question. He asks whether cyber warfare will make it into this game. Does hacking take place in any part of it? Could you be able to hack things? Revealing future plans for opposing factions? So those are really good questions. That stuff that is going to be put in at the end, possibly. I'm going to see where the game takes me. I've got all the core features of the game in, and it's starting to play really well. And it's getting to the point where if I just throw in features based on stuff I think should be good or sounds good, that won't be for the best of the game. I have to start playing it properly. Now that it's in a more polished state, playing it for longer, as I'm able to do that, and seeing what makes sense from gameplay perspective with those kind of things in mind. So yeah, it's definitely on my mind, and we'll see where that goes. He also asks, and I like this question because the answer is yes, will opposing factions take your squad members hostage and ask for stuff for their release? Yes, they basically already do that. Hostage taking is a really big part of the game already, so that's cool. And then he asks if the FS universe is filled with artificial bodies, limbs, and cyborgs, like Deus Ex and Ghost in the Shell, and I don't really know the answer to that, so I'll have to ask Paul. Fire Starcraft asks, will the new version support more than 2 players in one mission? So basically that probably is not something I'm going to be able to do for launch. That's such a massive piece of work considering how the game is engineered, and there's already so much in FS2. That's the kind of thing I might look to add as a big expansion post-release. So I'm afraid the answer to that is probably no. CIOXR says this is starting to look like Subversion. I don't know what to say to that, actually. Now, Eric Anderson says, why can't the city multiplayer be properly asynchronous? Well, you could have each player submitting their individual, inverted commas, turn for a particular timestamp and just advancing when everyone had done it. But that doesn't last very long. It's a very good question. I would love for the multiplayer city stuff to be fully asynchronous, but it just doesn't make much sense and is not going to be a good gameplay play experience. I really feel like obviously FS is a really good asynchronous game as it is, and I think the city game is just a little bit of a different kind of game. It's a game that you do need to be sitting down with someone basically at the same time to do stuff. So I appreciate the comments, but I'm basically certain that it has to be that way. Now, Lame Snow says that an interesting feature which Heroes of Might and Magic does is that you have auto resolve on combat in multiplayer grand strategy games, but you're allowed to refute the results, saying that you can do better if you lose. I'd be interested in hearing in the comments exactly what happens with this. I mean, is it just a case that the player will refute anyone in which he loses? Can he only refute every so often? What's the actual behavior that comes out of that? I find that pretty interesting as a concept. So I'd definitely like to hear more about that. Jakey Jake 3 says some nice things and asks about getting signed up for the closed beta. As I said before, email ian@mode7games.com. All of you guys watching these videos seems to be really great people to be involved. So we're adding quite a few of you to the closed beta, which is probably going to start, being optimistic, probably is going to start, in all honesty, at the beginning of March is what I would expect. So yeah, if you really want to get involved, do email me. Casebrot, again, apologies for the pronunciation, he wants to know if you can change the background colour of the levels. FS seems like a pretty dark game. Yeah, we're still working on the actual composition of the game graphics. If we look at this bit that we have right here, I really like the style that we've got. I really like the rendering of the walls, etc. I'm basically proud of how the general style of the game looks, but obviously we do still have some problems with composition. The background, something that we're not particularly happy with. These empty areas aren't working very well. These ridiculously huge bugs aren't working very well either. So we haven't done with polishing exactly how the game looks yet. So maybe giving you options to change colors, something that we might allow later, maybe as a like a little DLC or something. But yeah, we'll see what that basically. Now, Eduardo Rodriguez asks if the game has a melee unit. He then replies to his own question saying it does, so I don't have to get involved with that. Lolash says, eventually, how many sort of co-op options are there? So it's definitely feasible to play at the city level with sort of broadly cooperatively, being two factions that are helping each other. That's totally possible just within the general rules of the game. In terms of playing each mission cooperatively, that's definitely a feature I'd like to put in. That shouldn't be particularly difficult, but I am aware of the ginormous number of features in this game, so I definitely can't guarantee it. But as usual, I'm always interested in hearing specifically what features you guys like the sound of more than others. Donick asks if we can basically have separate UI scaling. It's basically rendering the UI at a different resolution to the rest of the game. Yeah, we are going to do that, because with 4K screens, if you put this UI on a 4K screen, you won't even be able to see it if you're not directly up at the screen. So we will be doing that. Luckily, we had to put in that functionality for Frozen Synapse 1 on the iPhone, so we basically have access to that functionality. I just have to remember to put it on my list of things to ask Mango Fusion to do, our secondary programmer. That's more in his area. So Leo, Barring, and Tigris say lots of interesting things and have just given a lot of general ideas about some of the things we can do inside the city. I'm not going to respond to them all now, but I really appreciate all of the ideas, and they really help me get a feeling for what you guys are looking for. Got a few people sort of saying that miniguns feel out of place in Frozen Synapse. People don't tend to walk around carrying miniguns unless they're a cartoon. I hadn't heard anything like this before. I'm interested in more comments on that. I don't know what else to say about that. I wasn't aware this might be a conceptual issue, but I will look into it, and yeah, I'd like to hear more. So Jean Michael Villancourt is asking about spectator stuff, and as I said, that's already in. Top Hat asks, will it have suppression fire? And the answer is no, I'm afraid it will not. Horasius asks a really good question. Can we test beyond the 5-second mark? Because sometimes you need to see more than 5 seconds of action. That's a really good question. That would be a good feature. I don't know. I'll have to think about how that would work UI-wise, because it's nice that it kind of rewinds at 5 seconds. But you're definitely right. Sometimes that's really annoying. So I'll have to think about that one. Shade23212 asks, will we be able to have only AI matches resolved automatically and not for all player matches resolved manually? Yes, absolutely. Whenever a mission comes up, it's sort of basically up to the player whether or not, or how he wants it to be played, whether have it auto-resolved, playing it fully, or playing it with one of the other human players playing as the AI. That's a feature I've put in since the last video. So there's a lot of options there. Obviously, again, this is a game mode where I more expect you to be playing with your friends or your clanmates, someone that you know. You're more likely to be playing with people that you trust to sort of play in the right way, than being on a public server or getting a random match-made FS match. So I kind of expect there to be fewer. I'm not doing as much trying to control against bad behavior, because this is a big grand strategy game, and as I understand it, the FS community is already really, really good and behaves extremely well. But when you're playing grand strategy, it tends to be even more considerate, shall I say. People play more considerately. Giving the host, the person who's hosting the game, the control to force these options is also a possibility. But it's kind of a gigantic pain as well for everyone involved, including me. So we just have to see how that scales out. I mean, again, this multiplayer, this is a game where I want you to be playing with people that you know in general, people that you're friends, and having quite a long game of something that's really good. So again, you can talk to me as much as you like about that. So that's basically the end of me answering your questions. As usual, amazing number of comments on my videos. Thank you so much. Please keep watching and commenting. I hope you guys have a good Christmas or general holiday period, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.